Now for today's Tanya, Tuesday the 7th of July the 21st. Igeres HaKodesh, Epistle 3. Overview of chapter the Epistle 3, which is basically a fancy word for letter. Giving charity creates garments, which ensure that the infinite godly energy rests upon the giver, and that no extraneous forces draw from this energy. In today's lesson, just as a coat of mail, a defensive garment made of interlinked metal rings, shields, so does tzedakah fill in the gaps in the system of godly energy flow, ensuring that negativity does not slip in. Epistle 3. V'yilbash tzedakah kashirin v'kovas Yeshua b'roshai. And he garbed himself with tzedakah as with a coat of mail and a helmet of salvation upon his head. This verse in fact speaks of God's promised actions in defense of his people. Nevertheless, the deeds of Jews that mirror God's deeds serve as a vessel which can receive, or as a means which can bring about God's reciprocal action. Vidarshu, and on this verse our sages of blessed memory commented, Rabbi Seinu Zikreinam Libracha, just as with chain mail all the individual scales add up to form a large coat of mail, so it is with charity. All the individual coins given to charity add up to a great amount. Ma shiroin ze kol klipa uklipa mitztarefes leshiron gadol. Af tzedakah kol peruta ufruta mitztarefes lecheshbon gadol. The Alter Rebbe now anticipates a question. What is gained by this analogy? Surely it is just as obvious that all the individual coins given to charity add up to a great amount, as it is that all the individual scales add up to form a large coat of mail. This means Perush, and this is the additional point being made here, that just as the mail is made up of scales covering gaps, and these shield one against any arrow entering through the gaps, so it is with the act of charity. Shahar Hashiryoin Asui Kashim Sim Al Nekavim Vehem Meginim Shaloi Kanes Chaitz Bankavim Vakakahu Maasei Tzedakah HaTzedakah. In example, as will presently be explained, the spiritual dynamic of charity comprises A. An element that corresponds to the chinks in a coat of mail, and B. An element that corresponds to the protective scales, the coins that cover those gaps. The meaning of this is as follows. Charity is greater than all of the commandments. Uvir ha'inyin ki gadola tzedakah mikol hamitzvos. For their performance produces garments for the soul. Shemehen Nasim Levushim Lahanishama. The performance of the commandments provides the garments that enable the soul to withstand the intense degree of divine revelation to which it will be exposed in Gan Eden, instead of being nullified by it. These garments are drawn forth from the infinite light of the blessed Ein Sof, Hanimshachim Me'or Ein Sof Baruch Hu. Deriving from a source which is infinite, they enable the soul to cope with the infinite degree of revelation which it will encounter in Gan Eden, from the level of Sovev Ka'amin, Mibchinas Sovev Ka'almin. This is the encompassing level. I'm adding this as a commentary myself, but Sovev means surrounding everything. It's the light of Hashem that surrounds everything. The meaning of Mamale Ka'almim and Sovev Ka'almim has been explained in Likutei Amrim. See there. So this is Sovev is the surrounding light, and Mamale Ka'almin is the light that fills everything. So just telling you that here. Kimvoar haperush Mamale Ka'almin v'Sovev Ka'almin Belukutei Amarim Ayin Shem. These garments are brought into being by an arousal from below. In example, the fulfillment of the commandments, or the commands of Hashem, and the will of the Supreme Being. Be'itzarusa de sata hi mitzvahs Hashem b'ratzain ha'elyain baruch hu. Since the commandments emanate from Hashem's supreme will from the level of Sovev Ka'almim, they serve as the source for the above-mentioned garments. The essence of this efflux from the infinite Ein Sof light is a garment and encompassing light for the 10 spheros of the 4 worlds, Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. And the Ikar Hamshacha Zo Me'or Ein Sof Baruch Hu Lavush V'or Makif Li Sephiros de Atzilus Bria Ha-Yetzira Asiya. Or hey, I don't know. Which involves from cause to cause and from rung to rung. Hamishtalshalus me'ila la'ila umimadrega lamadrega hulu. These spheros being referred to as Mamale Ka'almin. Hanikra os b'shem Mamale Ka'almin. The Alter Rebbe now answers the following question. Since the spheros themselves are the divinity of the 4 worlds, why do they need the infinite Ein Sof light as a garment? Perush, this means that the Ein Sof light vests itself and radiates in an indwelling manner within the entire evolving chain of the 10 spheros of the worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Ki or Ein Sof Baruch Hu Mishla Beish Umeir Basok Kol Hishtalshalus Ha-Eser Spheros D'Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, Asiya. Moreover, it gives rise to the 10 spheros of the world of Atzilus, which evolve into the worlds of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. V'hu ha'atzil ha'eser spheros d'Atzilus ha'mishtalshalus lifria Yetzira Asiya. The spheros of Atzilus thus serve as the divine illumination for the worlds of Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. This is made possible by means of an immense contraction, Tzimtzum, which is explained in Eitz Chaim. Al Yedei Tzimtzum Atzum Hamvoar Be'etz Chaim. The resultant light is referred to as an indwelling light or panini, a light that vests itself in an inward manner within created beings. inasmuch as it is contracted to match the spiritual capacity of the particular created being in which it is clothed. V'nikra or panimi. Now, by the fulfillment of the commandments, the above-mentioned encompassing light is elicited and radiates within the 10 spheros of the worlds of Atzilus, Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, thereby uniting with the indwelling light. V'al yadei kiyum ha-mitzvahs nimshach or makif hanizkar la'el umeir toch ha'asar Spirais de Atzilus Bria Yetzira Asiya Omisyached Im Ha'or Pnimi. When this occurs, the infinite and transcendent light or Makif permeates the indwelling light or Panimi of Seder Histaushlis. The self-obscuring and chain-like descent of the divine life force through which increasingly material worlds come into being. This is referred to as the unification of the Holy One, blessed be He, the epitaph, I don't know how to say that, the epithet, Holy Kadosh, signifying his separateness from the world, hence the level of Sovev Kalman. Nikra Yichud Kutsha Brihu. Ushkin Te Kamoshanis Ba'er B'Makaim Acher. And his Shechina, the indwelling light, which is so called because the divine presence descends and dwells, Shochein, within the created worlds, as is explained elsewhere, and from a reflection of the above-mentioned encompassing light by means of a powerful contraction. Umehe'ara dehe'ara me'or makiv hanizkar la'el al yadei tzimtzum rav. A garment is made in the lower and upper gardens of Eden for the soul levels called Nefesh Ruach Neshama of man. Na'aseh levush livchinas Nefesh Ruach Neshama shel ha'adam b'gan Eden hatachtein v'alyain, enabling them to derive pleasure and attain some apprehension and illumination from the infinite Ein Sof light, which is diffused in the Garden of Eden, as is explained elsewhere. Sheyochlu leyahal nos ulahasig eze hasaga v'ha'ara me or Ein Sof baruchu kamo shem va'ar b'makayim acher, enabling them to derive pleasure and attain some apprehension and illumination from the infinite Ein Sof light, which is diffused in the Garden of Eden, as is explained elsewhere. For unaided, the finite soul would never be able to apprehend this infinite radiance. This is the meaning of the teachings of our sages of blessed memory. In this world there is no reward for the fulfillment of the commandments. B'zeh sha'amru Rabbeinu Zechrinam Livracha Sachar Mitzvah Ba'ayul Alma Lecha. They do not say that in this world there is no reward granted, rather that there exists no reward in this world. For in this world, which is physical and in a state of limitation, a state of great and most extreme contraction, it is impossible that any reflection of the infinite Ein Sof light should become invested except by means of the 10 spheros, which in the sacred Zohar are referred to as the body. Ki ba'olam hazeh hagashmi uva'al gavul v'tzimtzum rav v'atzum ma'od ma'od אי אפשר להסלה בשום הערה מאור אין סוף ברוך הוא. כי אם על ידי יוד ספירוס הנקראים גופה בזוהר HaKodesh, except by means of the 10 spheres, which in the sacred Zohar are referred to as the body. The Alter Rebbe will soon explain that just as body and soul are incomparable, so are the spheros infinitely distant from the infinite Ein Sof light. As a reward for performance of the commandments, one is enabled to draw down the infinite degree of light. But this light cannot possibly descend within this world, which is bounded. Thus, in this world, there is no reward for the fulfillment of the commandments. No such revelation can possibly be clothed in this world, for whatever illuminates and clothes itself in this world derives merely from the level of 10 sefirot, which the Zohar terms the body. Thus, for example, the sefira of chesed, kindness, is called the supernal right arm. Gevura, severity, is called the left arm, and so on. Chesed, deroya, yamina, hulu. For just as there is no comparison between the physical body and the soul, so there is no comparison whatsoever between the 10 sefirot of Atzilus and the supreme emanator, the infinite Ein Sof. Lefi shekamo she'ein aroch lo lahaguf lahagashmi legabe haneshama. Kach ein aroch klal li sefiros de'atzilos legabe hama'atzil ha'elyon Ein Sof Baruch Hu. For in relation to the Ein Sof, even the supreme Chokhmah, wisdom, which is the first of the spheros, is on the plane of material action. For in relation to the Ein Sof, even supreme Chokhmah, wisdom, which is the first of the spheros, is on the plane of material action, as explained in Likutei Amarim. Ki yafilu Chokhmah Elah sheyi reishisan hi bivchinas asiya gufanis Lagabe Ein Sof Baruch Hu, Kamo shenisba'er b'Likutei Amarim. Therefore, through the practice of charity and the deeds of kindness, whose fruits man enjoys partially in this world, since some minute quantity of the reward for the fulfillment of these commandments is enjoyed within this world, it follows that a microscopic ray of the infinite light of Soviv Ka'omen does descend into this world. This is possible because there appear, metaphorically speaking, gaps in the supernal garment. Why did it change? Sorry. Gaps in the supernal garment that envelope the body, which is the vessels of the 10 spheres. Through these gaps, light and abundance are irradiated and diffused. Okay, now let me just go back a little and say the Hebrew. Kamo shenamar, as explained in the Likutei Amarim, I already said that. Therefore, through the practice of charity. Ve'ein lazais v'masei hatzedaka ugmilos chasadim she'adam ochel miperesehen ba'alam hazeh. We say that every morning. There appear yesh nekavim al derech mashal balvush ha'elyain hamakif al gufa hein hakelim di sefirot the yud sefiros la laha'ir mehen uhashpia or v'shefa. Mechesed roya yamina, oirech yamin ba'olam hazeh hagashmi. Through these gaps, light and abundance are radiated and diffused, and so that from the sphere of Chesed, which is the right arm, there results longevity in this physical world. So that from the sphere of Chesed, which is the right arm, there results longevity in this physical world. And from the left arm, which is the sphere of Gevurah, there results in honor and wealth. Va'oisher v'kavod midaroya samala. V'kein v'seferas. And likewise with beauty that emanates from the sphere of Seferas, which is the combination of both Chesed and Gevurah. V'hod v'hadar v'chedva v'chulu, and majesty, hod, splendor, hadar, and gladness, chedva, etc., from the respective sphirot of hod, yesod, etc. Netzach, hod, yesod. However, in order to prevent the forces of evil from drawing on high from the light and abundance, which evolves and descends netherward as far down as this physical world, when this spiritual energy descends to such a lowly level, it is possible for the klipot and sitra achra to derive nurture from it as well. In order to forestall this, HaKodesh shelo yinku hachitzonis l'mayla me'or v'shefa hamishtalshel v'yored l'mata mata ad olam hazeh hagashmi. However, I'm going to reread that because I didn't get it. However, in order to prevent the forces of evil from drawing on high from the light and abundance which evolves and descends netherward as far down as this physical world, when this spiritual energy descends to such a lowly level, it is possible for the klipa and sitra achra to derive nurture from it as well. In order to forestall this, v'kein lamata lahagein al hadam ushamro uhatzilo mikol davar ra bagashmius uruchnius. And likewise here below, in order to shield man and to guard him and save him from all physical and spiritual harm, which could conceivably result if the klipa and sitra achra were to derive nurture from this source. Lezois hoizer umeir or hamakiv v'soisem hanekev al derech mashal. The encompassing light is reflected back and, figuratively speaking, fills the breach. Once the encompassing light has, so to speak, shone downward into this world through the chink produced by man's charitable deeds, it is then reflected back in order to fill the very same breach. This deprives the forces of evil of any possible nurture via the same avenue. For this encompassing light belongs to the category of infinitude and Sovev Ka'omin, as mentioned above, and this infinitely transcendent degree of light called Or Makif is a source from which the forces of evil are unable to derive any sustenance. Kihu mibchinas ein sov v'sovev ka'amim kenizkar la'el. We thus see why tzedakah producing its own provident gaps and its own protective scales, is likened to a coat of mail. Moreover, V'zehu sha'amru Rabbeinu Zakrinam Livracha mitztarefes lecheshbon gadol daika. And this is what underlies the above-quoted teaching of our sages of blessed memory. Just as with chain mail, all the individual scales add up to form a large coat of mail, so it is with charity. All the individual coins add up to a great amount. The word great is used advisedly. Ki gadol Hashem hulal ma'od. In the spirit of the verse, great is Havaya and exceedingly glorified, without end, limit, or restriction, heaven forbid. B'li sof v'sachlis ugvul chas v'shalom. Thus, by means of the coins given to charity, one draws down spiritual light from the level denoted by the phrase, Great is Havaya. The four-letter divine name alludes to the 10 spheros. For the letter Yud represents the letter of Chachma. The first letter He represents the level of Bina. Vav represents the 6 midot, Chesed, Gvura, Tiferes, Netzach, and Hod, the spiritual emotions. And the final He represents Malchus, which is action. These spheros are sustained by the Ein Sof and partake in its infinite greatness. Take away the power of charity. It allows the divine energy to be expressed in a physical manner, and the giver is blessed with material benefits. Thank you.